morning, everyone, and welcome to our last MindSpeak of 2014. It's a great pleasure to have Aaron here with us today. Aaron and I have known each other for a long time, and I've been telling him to come and do a MindSpeak for ages. He came, of course, he tells me it's 2 years ago, in fact, with Giuliani, and played the keyboard, and I had a little video I put out on Friday, so real pleasure. And Aaron came to visit me this week in the office, and I'm just take a couple of minutes. And I said to him, well, you know, you've got to talk about the business as well, about music. And he said, okay. So he's going to talk to us about just about everything. He hosts all that jazz, so he's in the festival business. He started with the keyboards age 17, which is, you know, I said that gives us all hope. We can all find our passion. We don't have to worry. And it's just a great privilege to have Aaron here. I said, what sort of music? How do I describe it? And I think you said Benga, jazz, and gospel were the three that came first.
Yeah.
And I think it's even much more than that. You know, the blend is so amazing. So it's a real privilege to have Aaron here today. We were sitting there talking about, of all things, economics, and he was telling me I was in Zimbabwe, and he was describing to me how many notes he needed at that time. And he said it was just 70 shillings, and it was nearly a wheelbarrow. And I said, man, this is a musical MindSpeak, not an inflation MindSpeak. So it's a real pleasure, Aaron, to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Aaron, just, you know, when I was a young man in Mombasa, this was not a career that your parents wanted to hear that you were thinking about.
Exactly.
Right? I think there was one band in Mombasa, I think it was Them Mushrooms, or
Yeah.
and that was the only guys who were making a living. I mean, tell me, where did it start for you? You said at 17 you were still a drummer. What brought you?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, I was born, brought up in Nairobi. My parents are, as I told you, are intellectuals. They're teachers. And so from an early age, my mom says that I was into music. You know, I was a drummer. I started out as a drummer in primary school. I went to Lavington Primary School. So I was the full 844 guy, you know, Maziwa Nyayo. I'm an 80s guy, you know. And then I went to, so up till standard 8. Now in high school is when I began to start thinking about, probably music could be, you know, you're like, you know, they ask you when you're choosing your subjects, what do you want to do? Choose the subjects that you would like to go and study in college. So I can remember in Form 2 I ticked. I was running away from all sciences because math. Actually, let me say this. In Form 3, when numbers disappeared from my maths textbook, I went south. Meaning algebra. I was not a math guy, you know. So I chose art. So I actually do a bit of painting and I draw. I chose. They used to have. If you did social ethics, and who did SEE? We used to call it SEE. Okay, you're old. You guys didn't do SEE. SEE. So I chose probably humanities, you know. And that's the time I think I decided I switched to piano. You know, I went to the great. Let me repeat that: the great Nairobi School. Can I say that again? Patch guys were. Yeah, you're in Patch. Yeah, I went to Nairobi School, and Nairobi School has a good culture of music. So, and when I joined the band, I joined in as a drummer. You know, we used to play the parade, the assembly, and so. But on Wednesdays we used to have the principal used to have a meeting in the chapel, and then there used to be a burnout between the band that was at the balcony and the piano players that were down there. Now I was the drummer at that time, but there's these two guys. One guy called Zach Amunga, another guy called Daniel Muti. So there used to be a back and forth. But in my head I'm like, I wish I could be those guys because they had such nice. So one guy's on the organ, one guy's on the piano. So there's like for 40 minutes, there's this burnout between the band that's up and this guy's down. And I think that's when I was like, there's more expression when you play a keyboard instrument. So that's why I switched. But let me say this. In high school, when my dad saw that myself and my brother is called Tim Rimbui, who's worked with Eric as a producer. So when my dad decided to buy us instruments, he bought me a drum kit, and he was in the UK at that time. Bought me a drum kit and brought Tim a small keyboard. So Tim actually is the one who started on the keyboards. But as fate would have it, I switched.
How much does that keyboard cost?
This one.
This cost $350.
Yeah. This one, I had to think about it. You know, when I went and bought this one, I just told my wife, you go to the bank and just close your eyes, write an EFT, and then behave as if nothing happened. So anyway, so that one, I think they're probably half the size of this one. So, and the small keys, they're good for teaching yourself. So probably if you bought it right now, 12,000 probably, 12,000, yeah. But that was a long time. That was 1990 when I first.
So this is when you first get on a keyboard.
Got on the keyboard, but now I switched now playing piano itself. When I said I was going to be a piano player, is I think in Form 3, 1996. Yeah.
And at this point, what type of piano player did you envisage yourself being?
I'd not decided. I think for me, what I wanted to do was to learn how to get the mechanics. You know, I did music in high school.
Yes.
So, but that was not the instruction. You need to go and be. What generally happens, you need to go and sit with someone who teaches you how to play your scales. There's a lot of work that goes into it. But at that time, what I wanted more funky stuff, more jazz. I was more into instrumental music at that time. I was drawn to it. But there's no college at that time that could teach you, or any place that they teach that type of music. Because what they teach here is more classical music, you know. So when you go, so I went to the conservatoire, and they told me that they don't teach jazz. They do the usual classical music, which is good because it teaches you the mechanics of the instrument.
So there you are, keen on jazz.
Exactly.
You've just started at 17.
Yeah.
And what sort of time were you spending on your music?
I think I got excited because now when it's like things just started opening up, you know, music. I'd spend. Probably in the holidays, I'd do a cool 12 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you were
yeah, because in my head I'm like, there are no teachers. So those days we used to have tapes that, you know, with the biro pen, you wind it and wind it and wind it and then play it. So I got tapes. So I had tapes that actually guys stopped lending me their tapes, their jazz tapes, because when I returned them, they're also finished, you know. So yeah, that's what I'd do. I'd sit down and try and hear it. Try and look for that note, write it down, and that's what it happened.
Wow.
Actually, now that you talk about it, there's a day I actually spent about 14 hours. I woke up at 8 and went up I went to bed. No, I think I started, it was like a Tuesday or something. I started at around midday and I slept at 2 a.m.
And you were just
yes. So it kind of
caught up. So you caught up.
I got caught up, yeah. And that now my grades in sciences went down, but my grades in.
And then Aaron, you were saying that from school you applied to go to Hollywood.
Yes. What happened is that after Nairobi school, I decided to do what do you call it, IB in St. Mary's, because anytime when we're in Nairobi school, we used to go and watch the musicals. So I was very drawn to St. Mary's musicals at that time. Of course, there was that love-hate relationship also between Patch and St. Mary's as regards rugby. So I was every so often would cross over to St. Mary's. So at that time I was like, and many former Patch students would go into IB and get into the music programs, and so I was very drawn to it. So I did IB, and then after IB. After IB's when my dad was like, okay, so what do you want to do? You know, so I was like, I think I want to do music. I want to go to look for college and go to the States at that time. That was end of '99. So 2000 is when I was supposed to go to college, but I wasn't able to. So there's a year I spent as I was looking for colleges. So I ended up working now at a guy called Bruce Odhiambo's Johari Clef Studios. That's where I learned production now.
Okay, so you've got this year now when you're learning production.
Yeah.
And can you see the career in front of you?
I think working at Bruce Odhiambo's place was first of all the deep end. Now you're getting to meet all these Kenyan superstars. Meet Eric Wanaina, meeting Masimaira. I didn't know much about studio. You know, there's all this stuff, computers and all these things that get into.
And your influences were still this sort of this jazz music
exactly.
that you got from tapes.
Exactly.
But you
now CDs now are the order of the day. So I'm just piling up. And Bruce at that time had a huge collection of soul music.
Yes.
So your Earth, Wind and Fire. So when he found me playing one day, it's like I know what I can give you. So he started giving me a lot of CDs.
Yeah.
But I think for me, what helped me at Bruce's place was now to learn the other side of music, how to create. Because you know, if I play this, I need to record.
Yeah.
And so that's how I learned. And I learned doing. We used to do jingles. Jingles are the music you hear on an ad.
Yeah.
So we.
You were doing it commercially.
Yeah, he used to. I was an intern at that time.
Yes.
So all these big agencies would bring their jingles, and so we'll record the ad for radio, for TV. And so now that was my job, to record, to put in some music, 30 seconds. That's when I realized that to write a piece of music for 30 seconds is way more difficult than for 4 minutes.
Is that right?
Yep. It's so hard. Do you know why? Because you have got to say everything in that 30 seconds, and yet it shouldn't sound cluttered.
Yeah.
So I'd write all these pieces, and then it end up being 3 minutes. And then Bruce will come and cuss out at me and tell me I thought you were a keyboard player, So it was a good. I say Bruce was a good. He pushed me.
You learned production.
Exactly.
You're learning the keyboard.
Exactly.
Now. When did you get your first sort of paycheck?
I think my first paycheck was actually in 1998 when I was still in IB. It was 500 bob.
And what did you get it for?
I played at a funeral.
Yeah.
And I played at a wedding. So I used to go to a church. So I used to play a lot because that's the only at that time I didn't have a piano like this. So I'd go to the church to practice whatever I had. I'd practice on my small piano and then go to a church and ask, can I use your piano just to practice? So one day, it so happened that I was practicing, and then these guys were doing a rehearsal for, I think it was a wedding.
Yes.
So they're doing for a wedding rehearsal, and actually, guess what? It happened to be Mike Rabar.
Wow.
So his now wife.
Yes.
Was putting in the flowers. So they find this young guy who is. So she sits down and like, you play well. So could we hire you to play?
Yeah.
So I think they gave me 500. I can't remember if it was 500 bob or 1,000 bob or something like that. And that was, of course, that was good money at that time. It was 97 or 98.
So you realized there was something.
There's something to it. Like, so I can remember I went home and I was like, I got paid. Actually, I was like, So after and the wedding was after school. So I left school in the IB. I went and changed, and made some money.
Wow.
So that was my first paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when would you say you realized, okay, this is now a career? When did you see it become to sort of?
I think after working for Bruce, I was invited as a keyboard player to tour the States for a gospel group.
Yes.
And so we did an entire year. Now going to the States is what opened up the possibilities of like, And so what they'd do is that they'd give me a session where I'd play with the band and just do like a session in the concert where it's just instrumental stuff. And the response is what kind of said, probably. And I think coming back after the year, that was 2002, I actually said, you know what? I'm going to be a musician.
Yeah.
This is what I want. And at that time, coming back, I'd applied to a college.
Yes.
And I'd been accepted to, it's called the Musicians Institute. Actually, a good friend of mine called Kanji Mbugo was studying there.
Yeah. Tell us about that, because that was quite interesting what you were telling me.
So we were in California, and so he came to hang out with us guys. So he's like, what's the plan, And he's like, I want to get to college, Berkeley College of Music at that time is like way up there. It's expensive. So I was looking for a cheaper college that at least my folks could afford. So he says, actually there's a school in Hollywood called Musicians Institute. Now former Berkeley teachers went and formed that school. So like it's a good. They teach contemporary music, they teach production, they teach performance, and that's what I needed. So I asked him what I needed to do. I applied, and the next thing I sent my videos, because you need to send a video of yourself playing, and they said, yeah, you got the place. Now that was good. Now after I got the acceptance letter, the next letter is now they send you the fees structure and what you need to do, and that's when now I'm like, okay, this now looks a bit it may not happen, because it was expensive. They're asking about $20,000 per year on only tuition. So when I told my folks, they're like, in all honesty, we can't. That's a lot of money. Well, we're gonna. So for 4 years.
Were you disappointed?
Yeah, I was really. 2003, I was a bit disappointed. Like, I'm just about to get it, but it's like it's snatched away. So I was a bit sad. And I'd say the sadness hit me the next year, because that year when I found that out, at that time I started working with Eric Wenaina as his. He invited me to. I'd met Eric Wenaina in St. Mary's. There was a 60th anniversary, so all old boys were invited. So we were actually playing, I think, one of his songs. So I was introduced to him. So now we reconnect in 2003 for a musical that he was doing called Luanda. So my band, one of my guys who I used to play with, started playing bass with him. So he invited me to check out Eric, and Eric's like, would you be interested in doing the music? So at that time, I was excited. It's Eric. I've always wanted to play with him, and I needed a place where I can start making some money, because that's a paying gig. And then later I ended up being music director. But I think it's the next year that I was like, okay, there has to be more. I can't just be a keyboard player for Eric. For what's my plan? That's when I was like, well, man, I wish I went to school. So it hit me. Yeah.
And then how did you get over that?
What ended up happening is that in 2005, Kanji comes back from the States. He had been there for about 7 years. So he wanted to start a studio, and the first thing he wanted to do is do jingles, do ads. So he's like, I know the guy to call. So he asked me, can we set up this thing? And I was like, yeah. And I'd say 2005 was it's still a very significant year for me, because that's when now I learned how to produce albums and musicians. So I worked with Cheesy, started doing work with Atemi, Joseph Hellon. Actually, his first 2 records, I produced his two records. So because Kanji was bringing all these artists, and he's like, can you produce them? I was like, it's exciting. I'm being paid, And so I started now learning how to work on albums, worked with DNG. So it was a good, and that's the year that actually I decided, actually it was Kanji's idea, like, since you're producing all these guys, why don't you do your own albums?
Yes.
Why not? So, yeah.
Wow. So was that the first time you started to do your own albums?
Yeah, exactly. 2005 is when I did my own record, which was, what they say is that your first record is actually a very easy one to do, because you've got all these things that have been happening in your life, and they just pour out once. So it took me 3 weeks to do an album. Now for my second record, which I did, which came out 4 years later, it took me 2 years to do.
Wow.
But 2005 was a good year. Yeah.
So now you've done this. Do you want to play any music? You want to show us?
Okay, yeah.
That first, what kind of music were you doing then?
The first record, I was trying to create a sound, because what I'd been working with other musicians like Cheesy, because actually he's seen his tweeted. He always tells me that I'm a Benga musician, just masquerading as all this jazz snooty. But so I wanted to mix, because I grew up listening to Maroon Commandos. Remember I was telling you? I grew up listening. Who knows? If you know Maroon Commandos, you're old. Who knows Maroon Commandos?
There's some old people there.
Okay, who knows Les Wanyika? Okay. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm not talking about that song that they always play. What's it called? Afro or no. If you know a song called Maicha, you're an old person. So that's what I grew up listening to. My dad was a musician, so I've a lot of Benga. He used to bring all these records, 33s and 48s. Who knows what a 48 is?
48 or 45?
45 and 78.
Yes.
Yeah, 45s, 33s, 33 and a half. Okay, 33 is the big album, you know, the big record. Vinyl, you guys call it vinyl. So that's the big one. The smaller ones are the 45s, and there's a very small one, the 78. So my dad used to bring all those albums. So I'd soak myself with that music. Yet he'd also bring some jazz music too. So I'd all this music. So when I did my first record, I came up with this. I was trying to experiment on what I'm hearing as a jazz musician, but also what I grew up listening to. Cool.
So this is like the beginning of
Let's. But now to make it more low sounding, you play.
that is jazz with a bit of
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Actually, I met a musician who told me that if you want to be an African musician, you have to have that distinct. That's what we have.
No, because I asked you that question.
Yeah.
And I said, what type of, because I find your music international. You know, at times I think when I was all that jazz recently you were playing, and I thought to myself, I closed my eyes, I could have been in many different parts of the world. It was so fantastic. So,
thanks,
but you said I'm a Kenyan musician.
Yeah, I'm a
Very
Kenyan
strong.
musician. Yeah, I'm a Kenyan musician, and I think that let me speak from my experience. Anytime I've played outside there, when I do festivals, I get such response, and other musicians can attest. Like when Sauti Sol have told me they've played in. Sauti Sol once told me they were put in between Lokua Kanza, who is like one of the big artists, and Salif Keita.
Yes.
But when they came and sang and came on stage and did Soma Soma, Salif came backstage and Lokua, and they took pictures like, what sound is this? You get like, this is amazing, and that's what I've seen when I've played outside there. We have such stuff to offer, but I think we beat ourselves too hard sometimes.
In what way why did you say that?
I think we I once made my dad laugh. I think that we have got we are all intellectuals. We like to analyze things. You know, you have to break it down. You know, so sometimes so it's our nature. I think it's our culture. You know, and sometimes we can there's what you call analysis paralysis.
Yes.
So sometimes if you meet West Africans, some of the music they do, we have tons and tons of way better musicians, but they're the ones who are flooding Womex and all these big festivals. But yet, when they hear, like I've got Macadam once told me that the reason why Macadam he's touring, I think per year, he told us he's at home 7 months a year.
Yeah.
It's because, no, he's away 7 months and at home 5 months or 4 months, you know. And he says it's because of what we have, you know, that is not known, you know. And so that's my observation, you know. Even outside there, our music is just, it's still unknown. That's my.
Are we not marketing ourselves well?
I think probably it could be a marketing issue. There's been, and that's why we can theorize. We are analysts, so I've read blogs upon blogs, and like notice every week there's something on Gafla about what is wrong with our Kenyan music industry. You know, there's such, you know, and like which is good because that's we are sharp people in that way, but sometimes you just have to do it. And now the problem is that artists like ourselves end up analyzing ourselves too. So I'm like, is this Kenyan? What is that Kenyan sound? Does it sound? I'm like, I'm a Kenyan, that's who I am, there's nothing else. And so there's a time I played in the States, and someone, I played, and he came and asked me, I can tell that you've got the chops, but you're an African. And in my head, because I thought like, woo, today I'm going to show this chap that I can play your music.
Yes.
So played. So this guy who is also a piano player is like, but your style, like there's this Herbie Hancock stuff, but where are you from? Are you from here? You're an African thing. I was like, really? Like, so I sat him down and asked him, what is it? Like it's very, I can't explain it, but it's so inside. Yet we are here saying that we need to be more Kenyan.
Yeah.
Yet it's, you know. How interesting. It's my observation.
Yeah. And it might apply in many other things, not just music.
Yeah.
I've got to come back on, on the business side of
Okay.
music, okay? Let me ask you a few questions. We can clearly see that it's a big part of the economy. It's growing.
Yes.
Break it down for us, where do you make your money? I mean,
Okay.
what is the best place for you? Is it to do a concert?
Okay.
Is it to go to a festival somewhere? Well, tell us a little bit about that and what we should be, if you wanted to get a career in music, there's different places to look at.
Okay, let me speak for myself. I've got a lot of things that I draw myself by my career from.
Yeah.
So when I started out for all people here who play instruments, the best place is to hook up with an act, a pop act. So that will initially pay your bills, become a music director. Actually, music directors get twice what other band members play. So if you're playing with Eric or playing for any act, even in the world, if I was playing for Asher Raymond, I'd be paid twice what the other guys would be paid, and that's why you're called musical director. So that's a good place to get, and that's how I draw my. I've always packaged myself as a musical director, meaning you're the one who arranges the music for the artist, you're the one who sets up the rehearsals, you're the one who, you really work very closely with the artist. So there's extra work that is involved other than just coming and being told what to do. So that's one.
So it's more like a director, conductor.
Exactly, yeah. You're the one who makes sure what what you're seeing the artist do, you're the one you're the brains behind it. So that's one. You can also package yourself as an act in itself, a performing artist, and that's what we know. Like, yesterday I was at a wedding and I saw Saizate and Willie Paul were doing their stuff. So you can also package yourself that way.
So they were performing at the wedding.
Yeah, that's performing act.
But there
performing
seems
act.
to be a lot of demand for that. Right?
Exactly. That is always like that's the case everywhere in the world. That's why you have your Beyoncés and all these guys who are big, because that's what we see. That's the package. And so there's that. Now I'll come, of course, now to the nitty-gritties about the monies and how that happens, and also genres. And actually, let me first start by this. You have to pick the genre that you want to be an artist, and see the pros and cons. Now, I chose jazz, and one day I wrote the full pros and cons of being a jazz artist from Nairobi, Kenya. What does this mean? What does this mean?
What did it mean?
So that I can know how to get the money, because I'm just not shooting aimlessly. So number one, I may not be a big international superstar. I won't be spoken about in all blogs. Forget. Is that what I'm looking for? That's a good question. Number two, I may not get the immediate product endorsement. I may not be, that comes with being a superstar. You may not see me on billboards. Number four, those are the pros. Those are the pros of being a pop act. You know, of course, you'll get a lot of followers on social media. You'll be it. You'll be called for all functions. Now, what are the cons of being a pop act? Now, if I suggest go online and look for all you need to know about the music business. I think it's a very good book that is actually used as a textbook in Berkeley for music business. So the guy, I think, breaks it down. Now, the cons of being a pop act is that there's a window. So cash in for 5 years. And then, because pop always changes and tastes change.
You were mentioning a jazz musician who was 93 who was still playing.
Now that's the thing. That's now for a jazz musician, Dave Brubeck. There used to be this tune on that EABL used to use for. You want me to play it? I can play just the intro.
Yeah.
It used to be something. I won't play the whole song, but. Something like that. You remember that? Yeah. So
Take Five.
Yeah, Take Five. The song is called Take Five.
Yeah.
Now that guy, actually, he's credited as being the first jazz artist to sell over 1 million records in 1959.
Wow.
But the guy, he died last year at the age of 92. He was turning 93, and few days before he was gigging. So he's playing.
But your point is, jazz has much longer
Exactly.
shelf life.
Like for me, I know. I always tell my wife, until I am 90, you know, and like unlike pop.
Yeah.
Now the thing about pop musicians is that to have a long life, you have to keep on reinventing yourself, which I see many. That's why I was talking to my wife the other day, and like, why has Usher Raymond stayed this long?
Yes.
No, he keeps on reinventing himself. You know, I was watching him on The Voice the other day. He has a new song that has been nominated. I'm like, this guy. The first time I saw him was that track. You remember "You Make Me Wanna" in 1998? Yeah. Like, this is 2014, 16 years later. But most pop guys
would have gone by now.
Yeah, many guys have come and gone and have left him. You know, so those are the pros and cons you need to do. Now that way, it'll inform you of how to make your money. Because many times you don't know what you're just shooting without knowing without focusing how, because you don't have that information, you know. So as a jazz artist, that's what I did, and so how I said being a music director is how I package myself. Then I also package myself as a producer.
Yeah.
Now that's another way that's another angle you can, and it also depends on your interest. So like for me as an instrumental player, I've got a wide range of varieties of things I could do. I've been a music director, I've been a producer, I've worked, and being a music director, hence also being a band director, that's why you'll see me on TPF.
That was interesting, right?
Exactly, and actually I got that because of packaging. I'd always wanted to pack, and that's why I say also brand yourself.
Yes. So how did you get that in your view?
Because I'd always branded myself as an instrumental guy. I'm the go-to guy.
Yes.
If you want, if I may say, band solutions.
Yes.
Look for this guy.
Yeah.
Because I always used to say, if I meet people, I'm like, I'm Aaron Rimbui, I've got my quartet.
Yeah.
If you need any work. So I'd always, for a long time, when I got out as a performing artist in 2005, is what I like. This is how I'm going to make my money. So let me put myself out there so people can see me. And I used to insist. Let me tell you now. These are secrets of the trade. Anytime I'd play with Eric, I'd used to say, "Can I play one song, as me and my guys?"
Just okay.
So people can see me.
Yeah.
Or give me a solo. So in the middle of a song, I'd play a solo. So you market yourself. And so hence when, fast forward to 2009, when TPF was rebranding on its third season, because the first two, they needed to give it a change. So I was called to like, would you be interested in doing this? And that's how I got, and actually initially, how I got into TPF is that I got into TPF in season 1 as one of the songwriters, which I can also say is another way of making money. I wrote the theme song for what year? Myself, Kanji, and my brother wrote the song. So every time TPF is done, we get paid.
Anytime the song
anytime that song you hear that we have a licensing fee. We are paid. So the money comes, we split it 3 ways.
And it works.
And it works, you know. And every year it keeps on increasing, you know. So that's how I've packaged myself as a production.
Yeah.
Production, hence songwriting, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, and then you've also been going into festivals as well.
Yeah. Because of the same thing, you know. Even before to talk about festivals, how I got into TPF was now they wanted a band and someone who can program music in a short turnaround time. You see, the advantages of being able to know all these skills is because now, if you've noticed TPF, there's for half the season they use tracks.
Yeah.
I'm the one who does the tracks, and then now I come back later and do work with the band. So the thing about the tracks is that there's such a turnaround time. There's such a short time to do, like especially at the beginning of the season. There's all these 15 chaps in the digs, and they're supposed to sing on the weekend, and so I have to make all those tracks to be ready on Wednesday.
Wow.
For them to start rehearsing for the weekend. So what helped me was because of the crunch time that I used to. Bruce's place was crunch time because there's all these ads that you need to churn out. You know, there's Macan, and those days there used to be Macan before, and there used to be on O&M. So I've got like six jingles that need to be put on TV. So someone's telling me I need that thing to take it to Citizen right now. So I learned how to work under pressure and quickly, you know, without making your product
diminishing it.
Yeah, making it less, like not doing a good job, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what helped me. That's how I was hired to do TPF as first of all I arrange the music and then also the band.
And then in terms of your personal sort of career, was this a big jump then?
Of course, you know.
How many people watch TPF?
From what I hear, the opening and first of all, there's 6 countries that are involved. So the opening and the closing, from what I hear, it's let me use the word, it's claimed.
Yeah.
I don't have exact figures, but I hear between 8 and 12 million.
Wow.
People viewing you know.
Yeah.
So that's prime, and it's prime time viewing, you know. So that also helped me. So you're being seen.
Did that make a big change?
Of course.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell these guys in the house that you guys have no excuse. Me, who's not even given all that airtime, I get so much from it. Now you, who is given all these 7 days a week at prime time, you can't afford to mess it up, man. So, but yeah, it's a good marketing tool. It puts you out there.
Yeah.
And that's why those jobs are competitive. TV is actually very competitive. And so we're in the age of that of TV, you know.
Yeah.
And actually, that's how we make our money. You know, you got TV job, either as one of the writers of the theme song, and also scoring. You know, scoring includes writing songs for. So I've not only done TPF. There's this cartoon that's for kids called Tinga Tinga Tales.
Yes, tell everyone.
Tinga Tinga Tales. Myself and Eric Wanaina wrote the theme song, and we wrote the score. So for the rest of my life, as long as kids are being born,
yes, they're watching Tinga Tinga.
Yeah, we get paid 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And sometimes, now the thing about royalties, it can be very little money, or depending on how much it's watched, it can be between, let's say, there's a payment that the other day Eric made me laugh. I was getting 2,000 bob, but it's a payment. It's a payment.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can make up to even 500,000 or even way more. You know.
Wow.
So the role that I'm beginning to see the when they say about royalties, they actually don't joke about it. You know, like in the States now, the system is so good that there are people who make a career out of just writing songs. I just write a song and give it to Beyonce.
And then every time it's played, you're getting.
Now those guys, I toured with he was the musical director for Earth, Wind and Fire, and Earth, Wind and Fire.
One of my favorites.
Christina Aguilera. He worked with Janet Jackson. So he's the real deal guy who is in the business. He's a bass player, but he's also a keyboard. Actually, he's a keyboard player. So he was telling me that a royalty check can come to your mail. That's about $600,000.
Wow.
Especially if you worked for a big pop act.
Yes.
All the airplay, boom. There are people who have made a career actually out of songwriting.
Out of writing songs.
And I challenge you, the next time you see all these artists you like from the States, go read the credits. You'll see that a song has got 4 writers.
And it's not the person singing it.
No. It's not the person who's singing. And that's the other thing. Let me add this. Just because you sing doesn't necessarily mean you can also write songs.
Yeah.
Because songs it's an art form in itself. There are people who are good at writing songs. And so like myself, I'm not a lyricist, but I can arrange, give you the music. So I collaborate with people. Hence with Eric, hence with many other artists I've worked with, Kanji and Sauti Soul. So I'll come up with the musical idea in terms of how the chords and whatever. Then someone will also come and write the lyrics onto it. So there's all these things you can do. So that's one of the things that I do.
So Aaron, take us from that first piece of music you played us. How did it evolve? Have you got another sort of signpost in the road that you can play us and say this was?
Okay. So here I am trying this Benga thing out.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, I'm like, okay, I need to get out another record. Since I decided I'm going to be a performing act. And actually, let me say, for performing acts, your CD is your resume.
Yes.
Actually, many times people have asked me, can you send me a CV? I'm like, go to Nakumat.
Yeah.
If you don't like what you're hearing there, I can't help you. Because sometimes I meet artists who send me long CVs.
Yeah.
I tell you that we are very intellectual, very well done, nice beautiful PDF. Then I ask you, can you please send me
the song,
because we're artists. That's what it is. And you listen to it, you're like, but it was so well packaged, you know. Now you've got how I studied, I did I've got this. But I say that spend more time on the craft, and that's what I've been doing. And so in 2009, I did my second record. The first record is called Keys of Life. Second record is called Alfajiri. Now I wanted to experiment more. Now get more into the fusion. Now play more jazz stuff. Be a bit more jazzier.
Yes.
Because I'm also winning people into jazz. Because jazz music, when people think about jazz music, they think it's snooty. It's for people at a club who are actually not even paying attention. But it's just that music that's the background. Someone smoking a cigar and looking very important. You know, talking a lot of so how is investments and then there's that's what we think of jazz music. But actually jazz music was from slaves, you know. It's the African music. Actually the big chunk of jazz music is to improvise. Actually what people don't know is our music is actually improvised. All the music, Kenyan music, when you go to shags at a wedding, that person those ladies who sing and speak the microphone and sing, they don't know what they're going to sing, they just sing it. And guys start dancing, and they repeat, and the song can take, and that's what jazz music is. And so that's what, however now, jazz met now European forms of music, that's classical, so there's a bit of theory into it. So now, for my second record, I wanted to get now more into that type of stuff. So let me give you something.
Fantastic. So this is from the second album?
This is from the second. It's a song called, let's see, Amani, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, just showing off there. Fantastic.
Cool.
So this is now the second
This is,
iteration.
yeah.
And what year are we talking?
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
Okay. And sorry, can I just go back a couple of things?
Yes.
We were going to get to the festival bit. When
Yes.
did the festival start?
Actually, my dabbling into festivals, I didn't want to play, because the typical jobs that we get as instrumentalists is playing at a club, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I started getting disgruntled, like this is not it. I want to play in festivals, and why don't we have festivals here? You go online, there's Cape Town, you're seeing all these artists all trooping to SA. Why don't we have festivals? So I created a festival with a friend of mine called David Makuyu.
Yes.
And at that time, actually how I met David, I needed someone to manage me, like to get my affairs, because sometimes it gets taxing, you're being called here, and so it's hard for you to keep up with with all this stuff that's happening. So he came in as a manager, but he had this idea.
So he's your manager now?
No, currently he's not.
But he was there?
He was there.
You got it. You said to him, look, it's messy, I need
someone to organize my, because you're dealing with
How
corporates.
much does it cost you to get somebody like that then to do that?
Management is generally this: whatever amount of money as an artist you're paid,
Yes.
20% goes to your manager.
So
Yeah.
you get a
Yeah.
fine.
So if you're being paid 100K,
Yeah.
20K,
Yeah.
because he's the one who's arranging everything, like bookings, payments, because that's sometimes can get taxing. Sometimes you just want to go to a place and just play.
Yeah.
So it's justifiable.
So this is the first time you've brought in a manager?
A manager. Before, I used to manage myself, and that's the reason why I got a manager, is because I said I can't do this, So so one of the meetings is like, why don't we create an avenue for you to play? Like, actually I told him yes, because I didn't want to do, because corporate jobs do play when you're playing at a function, an end of year party, they need music. So I'd done that, but I was looking for more. And so why don't we create this thing? And so all that just came up in 2011.
Yeah.
And so at that time he was able to call in some favors. We had a bit of advertising, and so I looked for a spot, and what I wanted was a place that is an auditorium, because what happens generally our festivals is that there's a stage and there's drinks and whatever. So a lot of the attention is not on the stage, because let guys come and listen. If people can pay money and watch a movie for 2 hours uninterrupted, why not music? Why do that? Are there drinks in a movie theater? You just go and just buy I'm like, so in my head that was my logic, and so we chose the National Museum, the auditorium.
Yes.
303 people, that's what I needed at that time. I don't want more. I'm not looking for 5,000 people. Clubs actually in the States sit about only 80 people. Those big clubs that we all try to, from this side, because they know how to market it.
Yeah.
So you apply, I want to go and play this, then you get your invite, get a ticket and go and play, and you're like, it's just only 80 guys. But these are the big clubs, the big jazz clubs. Just the most they sit is probably 200. Even 200 is a big club, So I chose the museum, and so we did the first All That Jazz in February.
So the first time you were doing it, did you have a sponsor, or how did you?
No,
because surely you had to pay for people to come. And
at that time, it's what you call risky business.
yes.
We are hoping that all the guys come, because through the tickets I'll be able to pay my band, and then make some money, pay the venue. So the only sponsorship we had that time was radio, and we had at that time it was Classic FM. So so they came in. They pumped it. Yeah. And then now later, after as the time went, I felt like at that time Classic was not working for the brand of what I was looking for. So I told David, why don't you look for Capital FM? Because they had a jazz show.
Yeah.
So they have this jazz thing they're associated, and they've got their accents. You people who like accents. We're Capital. It feels good saying all the jazz brought you by Capital FM. So I felt that that's what. And then I got into the business of.
You've done 13 now.
We've done 13 shows. So we decided to do bi-monthly.
Yeah.
Because a monthly, we used to do a show with Kanji those days called Life of the Village, and if there's someone that I I have the most utter respect for is Mudhoni Ndonga and Blankets and Wine.
Yes, yes.
Because I know what it takes to do a gig. The way she has that turnaround time for a month, that's hats off, you know. I give it to her as in terms of she's been able to. That's
So it's a huge
man,
success.
you know. So I didn't want that. I didn't want to come up because I wanted to also play in the show. So like a month is too. Basically it's 2 weeks to prepare.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do it bi-monthly, every other month. So we did, and it was an avenue. Actually, the reason why we did all that, as I said, it was an avenue for me to play.
Yeah.
But I had a twist to it. Other than me sounding monotonous, because I've got only 2 records. After 2 gigs, all my music will be over. So what I decided to do is call in pop acts and reinterpret their music and ask them to sing.
Yeah.
So the first one, we had Eric Wanaina.
Yeah.
We had Kanji. And then now, from then on, now the second one, I called in Giuliani. And that's how my relationship with Giuliani now started that way. So that's why I featured in a couple of the things that he does. Sauti Sol, actually, Sauti Sol are people that are actively collaborating. Actually, they've got a new record that's coming out that I've actually participated in recording the new album. And so I'd call them and tell them this, hey, I like Lazizi, but I've got these new chord changes. Would you come and sing? So we all meet, and that's what marketed the show, you know. And what was surprising is, because having been in the scene since 2000, is that who would have ever thought that instrumental music, you advertise it and it packs out. In fact, you're telling guys, okay, it's full, we can't. That for me, it was, you know, where you are gobsmacked. You know, I got on stage and it was absolutely full. I'm like, wow. You guys, do you understand there's no one is going to, except from the guest artist, no one is going to sing.
Yes.
Because, you know, jazz music is, as I say, very foreign.
Yeah.
Let me give you an experience. When I was doing my first record, I've mixed it, it's about to be released. So I like testing it to hear what people's opinions are. And the best people to do that with are cab drivers.
Why?
Because they are listening to radio full time.
Yeah. So
they can tell you, they've got a very keen ear. It's very interesting. So I put in my records, it played. So we went, the guy asked me, wataanza kuimba sangapi? And I was like, wow. It's gonna be a long journey, man. Why am I doing this, you know? So it's one of the things that I had to, you know, I was like, he just doesn't know, he's not exposed to it. Yeah. So it's not that he doesn't like it, he likes it. In fact, he say, hey, music, very nice. So, but then after a while, he's like, so, is there a singer? You know? And that's now, fast forward 6 years later, here I am advertising myself. I'm on the poster as an instrumental with a keyboard. Featuring, there is written featuring Sauti Sol, who'll just only do one song. So actually, they'll come in half the show. So the show is 2 hours. So for 1 hour, we're going to play you purely instrumental music. But it's packed out. And that's what I was like, okay, I guess it's time. I'm like, why does it, see, South Africans are Africans like me.
Yeah.
Why do they understand that music? That's why the Cape Town Jazz Festival is the biggest festival in the continent.
Yeah. How big is it?
They say they have 30,000 people attending in 3 days.
Is it possible to do something like that?
Exactly. And hence, of course, that's why I'm so happy about what Safaricom have been doing with the Jazz Festival. And I like, finally, because I always felt that this region lacks a circuit of where we can bring all these big artists. You know, it's so depressing on Twitter and you're seeing all these guys are going to SA and they stand. I've got a friend of mine called Jacob Asio who plays here he tells me when he's playing here, he meets all these guys on layovers.
Yes. Oh, that's
I'm like, so Kenya is only the place for people to lay over and then go and play in other countries. No, we need to establish a scene, you know, and we need people who can see the value, you know. So for me, Safaricom Jazz Festival has just killed it, you know, finally, because they have the muscle. Because the business of festivals, as I was telling you, I've gone through losses, man. We did one. When was it? 2000. It was last year. We brought in.
Describe that. Tell us what happened.
So after 2 years of doing all that jazz, I was like, okay, let's expand. Let's see if we can bring in an artist. So we decided to bring in Maurice Kiria from Uganda. Like, let me not go far. Let me stay around here. I don't have that money. Because then now, the cost, man, the cost of bringing artists is unbelievable. And you can even have a budget. You can say this guy, he'll tell you, I charge you, let's say, $5,000, or let's say even 10,000. So like, okay, I need a sponsor to cover that. So someone comes in and says, gives you 900K. Then you, as you go on, you're like, okay, there's airfare, and since you're not established, you won't get a good deal in terms of an airline to bring the person. So you have to hope that guys attend, so that at least you can pay it. So what you do, you mark up your ticket. So before we were charging 1,000, but this one I don't want to. So it becomes 2,000. But now what happened is that since all that jazz had grown, we took it outside. We did it at the courtyard.
Yeah.
Now, don't be cheated. Sometimes festivals look like there are so many people, but many of those guys come for free.
Yeah.
Have been given invites. So you may be on stage and like, yes, today we are making money. Then after the gig, you start doing the math, and it just doesn't add up. And that's what happened. What we realized, there are all these, I call them little foxes. Food, you're hiring a car, you're putting this guy at Serena, you're doing all these things. Basically, we had a loss. And now what happened? Unfortunately, we're going into elections last year.
Yeah.
That means, guys, everyone held their money like this. So the gig was in February. Man, for a good 4 months, I was so, do you know what we call konambaya? You know that you're so broke, yani, and lost. First of all, you owe.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that you're, like any business. It's not only music. Like any business, you know, there are many times you have to put in your money. The return doesn't come immediately, and you ask yourself, we went home and I just asked myself, why am I doing this thing? Because it has cost.
Yeah.
But now there are also those good days when everything just is perfect,
Describe something like that when everything went perfect.
What happens is that first of all, it fills out.
Yeah.
So that covers the cost. Or you're hired by a corporate buys out the show.
Yeah.
I did a show just this November.
Yes.
It was called the Black and White Affair
Where was that?
at the museum for Nivea.
Yes.
So they bought out the show.
Yeah.
So that one, even if one guy comes.
Yes.
So there's a way you can market your show that way. So there are all these things that happen. So it's life. There are ups and there are downs, and at the beginning there are very many downs.
Yes.
But as I say, there comes a time when the curve comes, and then now it starts bringing. And don't be afraid. And that's the thing that I've realized as creatives, as a creative, is sometimes we hold on to something so dear, but it may not be making business sense, and it may be bleeding you out dry. But you're stuck onto it, afraid to change.
Yes.
Now it has to be 2 months. I want it every 2 months. But this thing is eating your money, and your money is just going out, money. So what I did is like I stopped. We stopped making it 2 months, because every 2 months, not everyone was gonna come. So it was painful, but I'm like, okay, adjust. And then now this year we said we're only gonna do 2 this year, and then now next year probably only 1, and then just keep it as 1. And so those are the dynamics that change.
You got to adjust. You
Adjust. Yeah, you can't. We are very personal about our ideas as creatives. Like it has to be this way,
Yes.
Because you're pouring yourself. Like I wanted this, but well, you don't have the money. And first of all, business is money.
Yeah.
Money oriented. So yeah.
Can I take some questions? Has anyone got any questions?
Thank you very much. My name is Deto. I'm completely mesmerized by the wonderful pieces you just shared with us. Thank you very much, Aaron. My question will be, I'm a classical fan transitioning into jazz, and I'd like to know if your music at all has been influenced by Miles Davis, and also if you don't mind, could you share with us some of your experiences that you've had playing, sharing the same stage with other Africans? Thank you very much.
Yes. How many? Let me ask a question. Who knows who Miles Davis is? Okay, a majority of. Anyway, yes. Since it's an art form, Miles Davis is a big influence. Why? I liked his brain, not even his agility and the techniques of playing trumpet, but he made a landmark record called Kind of Blue that changed the entire thinking of jazz music. Do you know why?
Why?
If you read the linear notes, and for me, I'm like, he took it back to what African music is. Jazz music, the African musicians, the African Americans at that time were like, jazz is not being jazz, it's becoming too classical, too rigid. So it's like, you know what? Let's take it to what it's supposed to be, to improvise. So he meets these guys, these great musicians, John Coltrane and all these guys. And what they say is that they didn't rehearse. He just gave them some scribbled notes and told them, let's meet inside and play. And it ended up being a totally improvised album.
So that album was...
What you hear, actually, it's probably some of the songs are one take.
Wow.
They just played, I'm like, this is what I'm looking at, going and whatever. And for me, that's Miles Davis is big on that. I was reading a memoir by Herbie Hancock. He's written a memoir, and he has got all these funny stories about working with all these artists. And he said that's how Miles was. Actually, Herbie says that there's a time they were playing together. They have played, it's a packed out whatever in England, and then at one point he plays the wrong chord. That is called shrubbing. That part where your pa is. We all know that you've played the worst. But what does Miles do? He just was able to work it out with that chord, and he was flawed. It's like, wow. And so to answer your question, Miles Davis, I have got how many of his records? 24. So I actively listen to him. And what the question was?
The experiences.
Playing with
other musicians.
Yes.
Acts.
I have been blessed to play to share the stage with people like Hugh Masekela. I think that one I was first of all pinching myself.
Yes.
In 2011, he played here.
Yeah.
In Nairobi.
I remember.
Yes, at the Carnival. And I was asked to be the opening act. And so the cool thing about being an opening act is that you get to hang out with him as they're sound checking, you're given this, and they give us the same changing room, and just, many times I was seated there, I'm like, this is Hugh Masekela, man. And he's saying, and for me, what the thing that I was so moved by is like, he told me that play the way you're playing. You're an African.
Yes.
I've listened to what you're doing and you're an African. Of course, sharing the stage, just 2 weeks ago, I played with Jimmy Dudu. He invited me and a couple of other guys to play on stage. Richard Bonner, of course. I played with this neo soul artist who played at Blankets and Wine, Dwele. Actually, he needed a band, so I was asked to be his band when he came. Which was so interesting, because he comes in, because these guys come in just 2 days before, so you've been rehearsing for 2 weeks, so you're not sure, will this guy like my stuff, because he's left his band, and there's a particular way of how the music is played. Not that they play better, but it's just like as a musician, there's a particular way you'd like your stuff to sound, and it was so much fun. So, my experience is, these guys are actually just musicians like we are. The reason, what they have is that probably they have more experience, and but they are just like we are. They have got, they are humans. I think that's the thing that always like, wow, they're not. Yeah. Because sometimes we put them so high that we think they're perfect, but when you hang out with them, like it gives you hope. They're like, you know what? If I just stick the course like these guys, who knows? They're just regular guys who just worked hard and got themselves there. So. Who else have I worked with? In Kenya, I've worked with, from Waire, everyone. Most of the, except now the newer guys, but the big acts probably a few years ago, Waire, to Giuliani, to Just a Band, I actively collaborate with Sauti Soul. So.
And how big is the music market for Kenyan artists? I mean, you're saying you're selling your DVDs in Nakumatt. How many DVDs would you say Nakumatt is selling? To give us an idea of what is that the core business? If someone said, Aaron, what's the core business? Is it selling DVDs?
You know, music.
Or is it live, or what is it?
Okay, music business has changed. I was talking to Richard Bonner, and it's like it's not the way it used to be. Musicians like ourselves are selling more at shows. So if you're holding a concert, that's why now people, actually that's my experience at the moment. Your outlets, not necessarily, because it needs someone who knows exactly what they're looking for to go and pick that album out. And then now there's internet, so there's all these other outlets. There's apart from iTunes and all these other outlets. There's Wabe, there's something called Wabe, there's Mdundo, there's all these things that is happening.
Are people downloading from that?
Of course. The ringtones are big business.
Yes.
Let me just say that. I have a friend of mine who's a DJ was telling me he was at MCSK the other day, and he saw which artist was this gospel artist walking out with a cool 5 million.
And that was from ringtones?
Ringtones.
Wow.
So, and so...
Have you done any ringtones?
No. I'm still until guys when I answer the question what answer kuimba sangapi is when now I'll make it into a ringtone. There's still ground to be covered, you know. Actually, let me give you a very interesting story. I was invited. That was the most surreal experience I've ever had, talking about experiences about playing. A guy decided that he's going to put me on a show at SOS Children's Home in Eastlands. Yeah. In between ringtone, who else was there? Jalango, all these pop guys, you know.
And you're in the middle.
Actually, I asked the guy, are you very serious? You want me to come and play my instrumental stuff in between all these guys? I call them Gafla artists.
Yes.
These guys are big. Well, I'll be booed. I'm like, what? So his point of view was like, I want you to come and encourage young guys who may want to play instruments so that they can see there's another side to music. I thought about it. I'm just actually taking myself to the slaughterhouse. I'm gonna be completely, and it's in Eastlands. You know, Eastlands is Eastlands. Yeah, Eastlands. You know, at least if you told me it was at Nakuma Junction, I could have done it. But yes. Eastlands of all places, and it's kids.
Yeah.
And teenagers.
And if
they don't like it, they'll just tell you that right there.
Yeah.
So we go there. I find, first of all, the host is Eric Omondi.
Yes.
Everything that was happening there was just proving to me why did I accept?
Yes.
You know, so we went and did our sound check because I found there him is doing the DJ. First of all, it's loud. The DJ, the works. So the place is like it's a school field. The place is absolutely full. You know. So one by one, all these guys, you know, Mikono Jew, you know the works, you know, firing the knees like that. And actually, the backline is the instruments, drums, was only set up for us guys.
Yeah.
So Eric Omondi says, Sasa, next on stage, nataka kumuita Aaron Rimbui umemwona kwa Project Fame. Silence. Because anytime, first of all, what Eric Omondi does before even he calls me, he goes on a glory train. All those kids going round, he goes all the way. So I'm like, man. So we get on stage. And on stage, I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah.
At least if someone ever asked me, have you ever been booed and been nini on stage? I'll say one day I was. So I got on stage and I just told my guys, we won't even change the music because you know there's that pressure.
Yeah.
To change the music, probably play some Lingala.
Yes.
My guitarist at that time could sing some of that music. So there's pressure. In fact, even I had an alternative list. I had like 5 lists of which songs I just told the guy, you know what? I'm just gonna even make it even more conk.
Wow.
So we got on stage and we're given 30 minutes to play. First of all, when I asked her, like, you give me 30 minutes. 30 minutes, man. So I just decided we're gonna play. So we got in, did our intro, we played. When we finished our last song, generally when we play in festivals, guys clap, whatever, absolute silence. All those kids are just looking. So in my head, I'm like, did you not like it? Did you like it? Now I'm even more scared now.
Yes.
At least shout. So now when we got off stage,
Yeah.
myself and our guys were completely mobbed by these kids.
Wow.
Asking us guys which schools, which what, and it actually taught me something, a very valuable lesson. It's not that jazz is hated, it's just that it's not known.
Yeah.
And people are not exposed to it. Right smack up, you know that Kadandora pipeline where you can see that Kanini. I was in the heart of Eastlands playing for guys who would think that this is such, and we just played. And I was given the best advice I was told is that good music will always will always be appreciated.
Yeah.
Even if it's a different style,
People will still appreciate it.
people will always appreciate it because it's good music, it's good to the ears.
Yeah.
And that's why I necessarily don't listen to rock music, but
Yes.
I appreciate that those are
Good.
skilled musicians. That's art right there. And so for me, and it showed me that those are the places that I need to start playing.
Play us some of what you played. That left them gobsmacked.
What did I play? I played. There's a song that I played that is kind of. Yes.
My name is Raphael Okoth Thank you very much, Aaron, for the illuminating presentation that you made. And my question to you is, there are a lot of artists who are in the same genre as you are, and they look up to you as a role model. What advice do you have for them?
One word that I was given: stick to it. There's a song by a jazz group called the Yellow Jackets called "Stick to Itiveness."
Stick to it.
Stick to it, ifness. So just stick to it. From all the great musicians I've seen, just stuck to it. It's true, there'll be ups and downs, as I said. There'll be times you'll really question what you're doing, and then also practice. I try as hard as I can to practice, because that's how we get better, you know. And the other thing is get some form of business training, because we need to make money. So don't be afraid to look for a manager or a financial advisor, someone to help you with your books, pay taxes, you know, just be good. You may not, I'm not saying that you become a fool, get involved with all your financial things, because it's tiring. You know, I don't start balancing books and Excel sheets, you know, but just that's a big part of it. The business needs to be, I can't emphasize more. So stick to it, practice, and be involved with the business of it. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Lillian. I have a curious question, because I had an interest in piano, but I was like, it might take forever to learn. Number one, how long does it take? Is there like a time frame? And then are there places where they teach? And now the second question is looking at the music business. Where do you see it going in terms of especially distribution? Because I usually see the rates extent of piracy of music. So I'm like, is the internet the new frontier, or how to go about it? Thank you.
Yes, in terms of practicing and the I call it rudiments. It depends on what style you're looking at. He said he's a classical guy. So also set some goals. I think that's the first thing. What do you want to be? What do you want to be just good? Do you want to be a composer? So now that will inform how you practice, how you learn your instrument. Do you want to be a performer? So for me, I'd say it's taken me. He said that I picked it. I was 17 when I picked it, but I wanted to be at a certain point. I wanted to be a fully fledged musician, and it took me from 96 to 2005 to make that decision. That's about 9 years. To say that, you know what, I want to do this, of practicing, working with artists, and staying alone, practicing and working harder. I mean, in fact, let me give you there's two different types of things. There's practice and there's rehearsal. Do you know what the difference is? Practice is what you do by yourself. Rehearsal is what you do with others for a presentation. So now, practice is what I do with myself, and then rehearsing. So if you and then also put yourself out there. It'll help you with practicing. And then our music business, it's true. Internet has completely changed. I've read about it, and it's changed the entire game. You know, it's just until recently, for the first time this was gonna be, probably it's changed, but for the first time this was gonna be the first year in U.S. American history that no one had sold 1 million albums. Hard copies, yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
And why? Because it's all being downloaded?
Yeah, because of internet. You know, the thing now, what people are doing is videos, you know, especially for pop, and then piracy is a world phenomenon. It's not only Kenya. Hence, that's why even iTunes, the idea of iTunes came out of Napster, which was giving music for free, you know. And then there's also a debate about Spotify, streaming, how people are making money, you know. It's a whole... There's so many different thoughts about it, and we musicians are actually not the ones even who are involved in it, because the big record companies are not managed by musicians. They're managed by people like yourself, who are finance people, who know the markets, the money people, you know. So so it's changed. What I can say is use social media. Like I in terms of like my shows, I completely use Twitter. Twitter is I've sold out shows via Twitter. And emails. Who would have ever thought, you know? It's becoming a faster avenue than putting an ad. Actually, even I saw a very funny thing. The time we pushed, not too long ago, on Capitol.
Yeah.
I pushed, because I worked there part-time. And I pushed it and pushed it, and we didn't get people. But now the next gig we did, because that was April. Now the next gig we did at the Michael Joseph Center, I used Capital, but now I put extra gear on my Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and it changed. So it's a very, for music people, for music commentators and the music business people, it's a very interesting time right now. It's changed, because those days people used to sell millions of albums, like, MJ, hard copy, LPs and CDs, but it's kind of changed, yeah.
Can I just ask you 2 questions, which Rakesh is asking about as well? If you read about musicals, maestros, Yehudi Menuhin, I think he started playing at about 3 or 4 years old. And there's this theory that you start very, very young. There's a writer called Malcolm Gladwell, very famous, who says that if you're going to be successful in anything, it is after you've spent 10,000 hours.
10,000 hour rule.
And
yeah.
he describes Bill Gates, who lived next to a university, and this university had 6 computers, and every weekend from Friday night till Sunday night he would just sit there on the computer. And have you put in 10,000 hours here?
I don't between 1990s, I don't know. I probably have. Probably I have. Yeah. By now, surely by now.
But do you believe that was your practice?
Exactly, and that's why I say I can't emphasize that more.
Yeah.
Like, you practice and practice and practice. Jimmy Ludlu, who played 2 weeks, he says that when he's not busy, he puts in at least 8 hours.
Yeah.
When he's not traveling, because there's so much. Music is like any art form; it's endless. It's like there's so much stuff. You'll hear someone else interpret it differently. Like, whoa, I never thought of it that way. So, because it's personal. It's like I say, art is like fingerprints.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own unique way of interpreting. The way I played this song, and I may write it. I may go onto my laptop, put out the sheet music, and give it to someone, and completely play it in a different way that I'd never thought about. So, but that comes with practice, there's no other way. There are no shortcuts.
Can I take another one? We'll come down here in a minute. Yes.
Morning. My name is Alexander Moshogia. My question is a bit similar to one of the questions that was asked about. Do you put your music on online platforms, or you still do the same old discs?
That's a good question. It's actually on Wabi, so it's on online platforms. There's a Wabi.com, which is a Kenyan thing that some guys put up. So it's there.
Anytime someone
someone can download. So that's, as of now, that's what I'm doing. I've been trying to put it on iTunes, but the iTunes issue, it's kind of changed. The times I've tried to put it, I'm just not quite sure yet about how I'll get the money. Probably that's why I've been hesitant on iTunes. But it's on Wabi, So there's you can download my record there. Wabi.com, you can find it. But please do, if let me actually do a sales pitch. So my music, you can find it on Wabi.
Yes.
You can find me at, my Twitter handle is @Aaron Rimbui. So you can just go onto your phones right now and just follow me. I market myself. I put all my gigs and everything that I do is on Twitter and Facebook. Is Aaron Rimbui.
Okay.
There's a page. On Instagram, the same thing.
Fantastic.
So @Aaron Rimbui, please.
So we got no excuse now not to find you.
Yes. Because actually Twitter is how I market my gigs. Because people have asked me how I market my gigs, but Twitter is anything.
It's a phenomenal.
Yeah. Cool.
Even I've the MindSpeak is all been on Twitter.
Exactly.
A lot of it's on Twitter.
It's a pleasure to finally put a face to the name. I grew up in Dandora, and the first time I had your music, it was on Mizizi, I think. I used to watch it on some black and white television. Anyway, away from that, I have 3 questions. My first question, what keeps you grounded? My second question is, you say that when you started out, you could not find an avenue that could train you in Kenya. Are you thinking of starting a school where you can train people, a mentorship program or something of the sort? My third question, I think you work very closely with your wife. How do you maintain your relationship as a spouse? and separate it from your career as a musician? Thank you.
Very good.
Very good questions. Yes, very deep.
Yeah.
In fact, let's take a moment and. How do you keep yourself grounded?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that's a good question because we're in the business of entertainment and a lot is thrown on us. And so for me, actually, I had an experience a couple of years back, 21 years ago. As you can see, I've got scars. It's a long story.
What happened?
Yes, I was involved in a fire accident that I almost died, let's just put it that way. I was 14, went to a neighbor's place. This is a very condensed, short version. Went to a neighbor's place. In the morning, we used to live in an estate near Dagoretti Corner. So we never used, our family didn't have a gas. We never used to use gas. But that day, there was gas smelling in the house. So my mom was like, no, I think this is major. If we are feeling it like this, it has to be someone around here who's left the thing on. So we do some investigative work, if I may say. We find that it's our next door neighbor. And so my mom says, okay, I'll go on my way to work, I'll call the guy and come and sort it out. So she went. At that time, I've just finished KCPE, so I was free, playing around. So the guy comes, the owner of the house. So being a curious boy, he tells me, first of all, he says, hey, your mom called me, yes, I've come to sort it out. So being a curious boy, I followed him. It was him, his son, the house help, and myself. So you go into the house. When you get to the sitting room, it's full chemistry lab. Yani, it's crazy. So he goes to the kitchen, checks out if things are, if the thing is leaking. No. So he remembers that he was subletting his SQ to I think a relative. So he gets the other key and goes and opens the SQ. So now the SQ is outside the kitchen, so like kind of outside the house. So we are following him. So he goes in, his son and the house help. No, it's actually him, his house help, and his son. So I'm just kind of like peeping through, because I'm not, I'm a guest, so I'm just like peeping through the door. And all I can remember, I just had like a whirlwind, like vroom. So it did occur to me at first. So now I'm hearing this lady, the house help, is screaming, you know. So, and in my head, I'm like, okay, I guess those guys inside there, something may have happened, you know. So we start running out. So now, as I'm running out, because I'm the one now who is getting out first, I see she's fallen down, and she's all, I think she had worn like those nylon kind of things. So I think I could see that it was stuck on her skin. Oh, no. So in my head, I'm like, okay, she's bad. So I pick her up. So now I run out. Now outside, I look at my hands, and I'm like, oh man, all my skin is all hanging, you know. Wow. So my face, you know, and then there's a whole like a whole crowd. So like in my head, I'm like, is it that bad? And then my smaller sister was outside, and she's looking at me funny. She's looking at me like. So I didn't realize it. So in the car on the way to Nairobi Hospital, that's when I look at myself on the mirror, and I see my skin is all messed up. So by the time we got to Nairobi Hospital, you know, I'm all swollen up. You've seen those accidents on TV, yeah. So anytime that happens, I usually tell my wife, yeah, that was me.
Yeah. So
in a nutshell, I was in the hospital for about a month.
Yes.
And then basically the accident had to be, it took me, plus treatments, probably a good 4 years, because I had to do grafting. So they cut my piece of my thigh, graft. So actually this is actually from my thigh. This is part of my thigh. Here, I had to go through radiotherapy, the works.
Wow.
So I always feel like even when I go through, when people start calling me, and I've gone through stuff and things are just not working on, I just remember that, you know what, I was given a second chance of life. So that keeps me grounded, yeah. Wow. In terms of schools and it's a question that I always ask myself. I wish there were those places we could even me, I need master classes. Musicians like myself go for master classes. So at the moment, not yet. There's a good school that teaches production. That's Brookhouse. They've got a BTech diploma. So if you want good production in terms of studio and stuff, that's a good school. That's a good place to check out. So you can enroll for a diploma. But in terms of playing classical music, there is. You can learn classical music. But for jazz and contemporary music, at the moment, I don't know. Probably, no, I'm not aware of any other school. So I went to the school of TDK. You remember TDK tapes?
Yes.
For firing like this and chapping like this. So yeah. And yes, my wife's here. Say hi. Yeah, she's an artist too. She does film directing, so she's artsy. So, but we take it a day at a time. There's no, I don't think there's any theory about how to make it work. But before we got married, we just had a very live the feelings and the romance. I'm like, this is someone you're gonna stay with for the rest of your life. So this is what it means. So we had a very long.
List.
No, again, do you have a list?
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had a conversation like this: what it means to be with a musician. What does this mean? There are some days I'll be away. I may not get a salary every month.
You were telling me this.
Exactly.
Yeah, that it's very cyclical.
Yeah, music, for those who are into music, know that it can be today 5K, tomorrow 20K, 2K, 200,000. So it's up and down. Unless you've got a part-time job that can give you that steady income, it's you need. I will say that's the reason why musicians.
You need to be more disciplined.
Exactly. I say that you need to, because what happens is because probably this month you've not made as much money, so you feel like you've lost out on a couple of things. Then bam, you're called by Safaricom, and they give you, you're doing one of these road shows. You're being paid 2 million. Immediate excitement. Go buy TV. Go buy what? Because you're feeling like I'm working hard and I've not. What is it? I need also to make myself feel good. Why am I working hard? You know? So what you do, you end up making some decisions that you buy on impulse. Because that has happened to me. Yeah. Where you get that TPF check.
Yes.
And the first thing, you just want to buy nice things. And then after a while, like, so you go back, you know that thing where you put your ATM card and then you press again for that thing till the mini statement. I'm like, no. Put it. I thought I had 400K. Or I had, So you've used all this. Discipline. It's. I work now part-time at Capital FM.
Yes.
So that kind of has.
Yeah.
I host the Capital Jazz Club
on
Sunday evenings. Yeah. So that kind of has paid. That's money for. I was like, at least I've got money for the bills. So that takes care of the utilities. But generally, before that was until last year, we had to make some. You have to say, okay, there's no guarantee that next month I'll have a good job. So when you get that big check, pay. Like one of the things that I did this year, actually last year, after many times of finding myself broke after getting a good paycheck and not planning my finances, is one of the things that I did was to pay a good chunk of my utilities after I got a good check last year. So most of this year, I wrote a check and paid rent, like for, you know what, so that I don't.
You're the best customer KPLC's got.
pay. So I try and finish if I can.
Good thing.
I try and finish all the utilities so that at least that's it's not in my head, At least for KPLC there's prepaid. So that's in terms of monies. But now for me and her, she helps me in terms of she's like my personal assistant.
I said, are you the manager? No, I'm the person.
Actually, in many ways, she's come in as a manager.
The PAs are managers.
The many times where. My manager, I'm managed by a guy called Robert Kamanzi. You know Robert RK? He's got a managing company called Ingoma Inc. He manages even some news anchors. I was actually surprised. Yeah. He told me he has on his roster has a couple of news anchors. He has got Wahoo.
Yes.
He's got Nameless. He's got a good chunk of artists that is managed. Because how I found that he has a management company is that I used to go and I've known him for a while. And I'm meeting all these artists. I'm like, what are you recording? Is there? Because we know him as a producer. Then he told me no, he's actually getting into the business of managing talent. So he's the one who's been sorting my management stuff. But she comes in when he's unable to do, because he can't be present all the time.
Yes.
So she graciously comes and helps me.
You're saying the right things.
But of course.
All right, thank you. My name is Peter Uruka. Thank you for sharing your story. I think it's very, very inspiring and makes us all realize that we shouldn't take anything for granted, especially life. You started by mentioning that you started this at a very young age, 17, and we don't have, well, in some parts of the country, we don't have a lot of 17-year-olds who look up to or look forward to starting a career as in what you're doing. So the question is, how do you get, say, as Ali Khan mentioned earlier, a 3-year-old or even a 4, 5, 6-year-old telling the parents, Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be Aaron Rimbui, you know? Because even we've seen some countries where people actually grow up looking forward to becoming police officers. Yeah, which is, well, not necessarily the case here, but yeah, we need to get more of that in future. So as much as we don't have training institutions offering jazz programs, what can be done perhaps to make it, to help demystify jazz? What can be done to sort of make it part of a curriculum at, you know, primary level or high school level, regardless of you know, socioeconomic backgrounds of various students?
Good question. One of the things that I've been actually I want to start doing, not too in the near future, is workshops, because I see that happens a lot especially in the States and Europe, where free classes, where I just decide instead of a gig, let's just hang out with musicians and partner with a couple of companies and have workshops. So and you'll be surprised that I've learned a lot from a single There's a workshop I attended not too long ago. No, a couple of years back at the Goethe Institute. It was a free workshop, and I went, and there's some musicians jazz musicians from Germany, and they just had a very informal. They had their stuff. They play and explain. They had got a whiteboard where they put their stuff. So I think that's the thing that I'm challenging myself and a couple of other musicians to get into the business of doing. And hence, even if you notice, Safaricom, during the jazz festivals, they're putting up their workshops as an avenue for young musicians, you know. And then the other thing is also exposure, you know. If you find that you've got a 3-year-old who's into music, just one of the things that I thank especially my dad for is that he exposed me to music at an early age. So he saw that this guy's into music, buy lots of music, because that's how the interest develops, and then they'll come to be decisions. But for now, since we don't have that type of formal training in terms of instruments, I think it'll be just up to us. That falls on us to start workshops. Huh?
Because I think if you look at artists like, say, you know, Louis Armstrong,
yeah,
or Art Blackery, all these people started very young.
Yeah.
So, you know, we need to nurture.
Actually, yeah, I think so. And in terms of teaching, I attempted to teach, but teaching is a full career in itself. It's not as easy as it feels, because you need to be taught the psychology of teaching. Patience, you know, some of us guys may just be like, why aren't you getting these things? I told you know. So I attempted to do it, but it was, man, I was canceling classes, you know. I can't make it because I've got this thing to do. So but there's stuff happening behind the scenes, you know. Hence I mentioned about Brookhouse. That course is actually very, very instrumental. It's very good for. I've had students from Brookhouse, which is very different. It's not your typical Brookhouse crew. It's guys from actually went Tanzania. I met some guys. I did what do you call it, a workshop at Brookhouse. I've done also a workshop at KU, which ended up having a very interesting discourse with an old professor who stuck to his guns, very traditional, and it was a very, very good experience. I've also done Daystar. So I'm actually trying to get people to do workshops, 2 hours where we can come, and yeah, we'll just do a bit more. Yeah, I don't know if I've answered your question. Yeah, go.
Hi, Aaron.
Hi.
I'm Ryan. A few years ago, at the Grammys, some artist won the Grammy for Best New Artist. Esperanza Spalding.
Yes.
She's a jazz artist. For many people, it's good that jazz was being recognized, but also for many people, it was the beginning of the delusion of jazz. Much as we've seen in other genres like hip hop, especially genres that started with the black slaves, that thing, hip hop, rock and roll. So, what risk does jazz face of being excessively commercialized and in the process getting diluted? A lot of people argue that hip hop has happened to hip hop and to some extent R&B, soul. So what risk, if any, does jazz face for that to happen?
Well, for me, I look at jazz and any other art form. This is my opinion. I always think that art is very subjective. So what I consider very deep may be very diluted for someone. Fine, you have a point in the sense that you can over-commercialize and it loses its authenticity. That happens, it's true. But what ends up happening is that there are people who still keep the fire burning. There are those guys and that's I was mentioning to him, that in the last 20 years, New York, which used to be the jazz scene those days in the 40s and 50s and 60s, in the 70s, with the advent of electronic music, the jazz scene the clubs just died, guys stopped the art in itself. So I would say that stuff it's like everything goes in circles. So it'll always come back. Things always, that's why we're getting back, LPs are back in fashion. Who would have ever thought, So in terms of art, in terms of jazz, it's true. There's been that debate about smooth jazz. There's no improvising. It's basically what people call pop instrumental. There's been the constant argument about whether Kenny G is a jazz musician or not. And so so there's after all is said and done, even if you go to Wikipedia, they write there that jazz is very very hard to define, yet there are some tenets that make it jazz. You know what I mean? Fusion was people thought when Herbie Hancock and all these Chick Corea guys decided to do electronic music, guys were up in arms. They're like, you guys, jazz is supposed to be for acoustic music. You guys can't be playing an electric bass. It's supposed to be a double bass, So I think also times change, but there's people who still do the stuff. There's still options. And true, there's money, and you have to make money. And people are angry at Herbie when he started collaborating with people like Pink and John Legend. Like, this is the great Herbie Hancock who played with Miles Davis. What he's doing, he's diluting. But in my head, I always think that dilution actually probably wins more people. Because if I reach out to someone who is pop, that's why you're popular. Pop is a short form of popular, These pop acts, if I work with Sauti Sol, and I put them under featuring Sauti Sol, of course the jazz snob will be like, what is Aaron doing with Sauti Sol? But in my head, I'd be like, if I tap into Sauti Sol's guys, I'll bring them in, and then one day I'll smack them with absolutely very now straight ahead jazz. So that is my opinion. The dilution may not necessarily be dilution, that's according to me, but it may be just a way of reaching out to more people to appreciate the art form. I don't know. Could be. Cool.
Aaron, are you going to rock
One
this
more.
thing one more?
Okay.
Huh?
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. That was such a fascinating journey through the eyes and the life of Aaron Rimbui. Thank you so much. Can we please give Aaron a big round of applause? And thank you so much for such a wonderful and different and jazzy MindSpeak. And we wish you a very happy Christmas, Aaron.
Thank you.
So thanks again, guys, and I wish you all a happy Christmas, and we hope to see you in the new year. And thank you, Aaron.